Have you ever felt like a moth drawn to the flame in an endless game with a dismissive avoidant constantly striving to prove your worth, only to be met with a cold glance or, worse, complete silence? You are far from alone. On the surface, they appear perfectly fine, calm, tossing out half-hearted likes, replying with a single word before vanishing again. But behind that serene mask lies a gnawing question: will I ever be enough? In this article, we're going to expose why you keep chasing their validation, why their silence strikes like a blow to your self-esteem, and, most importantly, how you can reclaim your personal power. Have you ever poured your heart into a long message, only to receive one little A? Have you ever sacrificed your passions, forgotten yourself, just to hope they'd feel the depth of your love? Have you ever wondered, is all this effort just to be acknowledged once? If you answered yes, then you're trapped in the prove and disappoint loop. 1. You give, they retreat. 2. You prove, they remain silent. 3. You doubt your value, and they stay unmoved. But here's a truth you need to affirm right now. Your worth is never determined by someone else's response. So how do you break free? The answer begins with letting go of the need to prove yourself, shifting the power back to you, and rebuilding your self-esteem on the foundations of both psychological science and timeless philosophy. Ready to stop the chase? Let's explore the 5 steps to no longer having to prove, to reclaiming your intrinsic value, and to ultimately declaring to yourself, I will no longer prove my worth because I already understand that I am worthy. Have you ever felt like the star in an endless play, every spotlight shining on you, while the other person stands silently in the wings, never applauding? That's the prove-disappoint loop you unknowingly enter when you love a dismissive avoidant. According to Hazan and Shaver's 1987 attachment research, dismissive avoidants build emotional barriers to shield themselves from pain. They believe that by maintaining distance and a stoic demeanor, they'll never face the sting of disappointment. But this strategy traps you in a ruthless emotional game. You keep proving yourself, and they keep pulling away. The harder you try, the further they drift. 1. You give, they go silent. Every heartfelt message you send, every effort to plan a date or reassure them of your feelings, it's your way of saying, I care. You sacrifice your own interests, postpone plans with friends, and devote time to them. And then, silence, no reply. Or maybe just a lone, okay. Your expectations collapse like a soap bubble. 2. They respond with indifference, you panic. Faced with their indifferent reply, you wonder, did I do something wrong? Am I not enough? Your heart races. You check your phone countless times a day, hoping for any sign. Your mind screams, speak up, don't leave me wondering. Yet fear silences you. You worry that if you push, they'll run off even faster. Their indifference isn't a one-off. It repeats. Each time, you feel a deeper void, an ache, as if abandoned in a cold night. 3. You doubt your worth. Every kind word and loving gesture becomes ammunition for self-doubt. Why am I not enough? Their absence leaves a black hole that sucks out your confidence. When you look in the mirror, the reflection is not the strong, capable lover you once believed yourself to be. Questions loop endlessly in your mind. Am I too sensitive? Do I expect too much? Was I wrong from the start? None of these questions yield answers, only deeper confusion and exhaustion. 4. You try harder, they remain unmoved. Unwilling to accept the void, you send another message, plan another thoughtful surprise, or give another heartfelt gift. You hope this time they'll notice, they'll respond, they'll care. And still, silence. At best, a cursory thanks. The sting is sharper than ever. Your throat tightens and tears well up as you realize you're depleting yourself chasing someone who doesn't value you. 5. You lose control, they gain power. By constantly rooting your hope in their responses, you surrender your self-control. You become a puppet to their emotional script, always checking for notifications that never come. Meanwhile, they hold all the power. A single text from them lifts your spirits. A single silence crushes you. This prove-disappoint loop not only drains you but also reinforces their avoidance because your unceasing efforts make them feel safe behind their wall, with no incentive to let you in. 6. Reclaiming inner freedom. But you can break this cycle. Ask yourself, do I want to keep proving my worth? or do I want freedom? Freedom is not needing someone else's validation. Freedom is finding your worth within yourself, independent of external approval. It's time to stop. Stop proving. Stop waiting. Give yourself the gift of intentional silence, a silence that rebuilds your inner strength rather than feeding someone else's avoidance. In summary, the prove-disappoint loop is an emotional trap triggered by the other's need for distance and sealed by your need for their approval. Next, we'll dive into the no more proving strategy, 5 concrete steps to reclaim your inner power, rebuild your self-worth, and step into a life where you are genuinely respected and loved completely on your own terms. When you finally recognize that you've been trapped in the endless prove and disappoint cycle, where your every effort is met with a dismissive glance or cold silence, it's time to lift your head and ask yourself, do I really want to keep chasing someone else's approval? Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre asserted that we are defined by our own choices, and Friedrich Nietzsche urged us to become who you are, the pinnacle of personal freedom. From this moment on, you have the right to choose self-respect over sacrificing yourself for their recognition. By refusing to demand those impatient seen receipts or forced replies, you affirm your own power. You choose inner peace rather than the pain of endless waiting. Each morning, before you even check your phone, take a moment to affirm that you will dedicate time to yourself, nurturing the value within you that needs no external validation. It is from this mindful silence that you open the door to your inner truth. Your worth is never determined by outside praise or criticism, but springs from your own skills, experiences, and character you've carefully cultivated. As Nietzsche pointed out, the key to becoming yourself is the courage to face your real nature, embrace every flaw, and freely craft the best possible version of who you are. Spend a few minutes each night journaling your emotions. List 3 things you're proud of and 3 weaknesses you're ready to improve. Writing them down not only creates your own internal closure, but also deepens the conviction that you alone author your life story. To protect the boundaries of self-respect, you needn't slam the door on communication. Instead, gently state, "I need some time," or "Please don't disturb me right now." This isn't an excuse, it's an act of mutual respect that creates healthy space for both of you. Next, prioritize self-care. Get enough sleep, eat nourishing meals, pursue your passions, and connect with your community. You'll discover there are hundreds of other paths to fulfillment that don't depend on a faltering relationship. Finally, embed these empowering messages into your heart. I'm not leaving because I hate you. I'm leaving because I refuse to hate myself again. And love isn't a tool for control, it's the courage to stay when staying demands your growth. When you relinquish the need to prove yourself, you not only free your heart from emotional chains, but also become the strongest, most whole version of yourself, a person who needs no one's validation because your worth has always lived in your own breath and heartbeat. When you stop chasing responses from a dismissive avoidant, you begin to see that inner freedom and self-esteem are not abstract philosophical concepts, but practical forces that keep you strong and fulfilled. At this point, one of the most important ideas in psychology comes into play: locus of control, introduced by Julian Rotter in 1966. To harness its power, imagine your mind as a control panel with 2 switches, external and internal. If you frequently find yourself anxious whenever you don't get a reply, believing, "I'm not enough," each time they remain silent, you've been living with the external switch flipped on. In that state, you hand over your emotional well-being to someone else. You believe that your worth depends on their attention. If they don't text back, "I'm worthless." Every time you refresh your phone, every time you watch for a seen checkmark, you reinforce that external power. To break free, you must flip to the internal switch. Accept that you have the right to decide your own worth, independent of any outside response. When you live in this internal mindset, you realize something revolutionary. The fear of rejection fades, replaced by a quiet confidence grounded in your own strengths. Psychologist Abraham Maslow mapped out a hierarchy of needs that culminates in self-actualization, realizing one's full potential. Just below that are the needs for esteem and self-respect. But these expert tiers of Maslow's pyramid cannot be satisfied if you cling to an external locus of control, expecting someone else to approve you. You become like a climber who relies on a fraying rope for safety. Instead, you must be the architect of your own ascent. using the strength of your internal belief system to reach the summit. So how do you activate this internal locus and rebuild your self-worth? First, identify the signs of an external locus. Each morning, before you even check your phone, notice if you're thinking, "I wonder if they texted." Jot down, "waiting for text," "check for likes," "seen notifications." Recording these triggers allows you to see exactly how often you hand your emotional control to someone else. Next, declare your internal locus out loud. Stand before a mirror and repeat 5 times. "My worth is determined by me, not by anyone else." Speak slowly and deliberately. This practice isn't mere affirmation. It rewires your subconscious so that your inner voice drowns out external noise. Then, build your self-worth ledger through concrete action. Take a notebook and list 10 achievements, no matter how small. I graduated college. I supported a friend through hard times. I learned a new skill. Then list 5 personal qualities you value: honesty, creativity, perseverance, humor, compassion. When doubt creeps in, revisit this ledger and remind yourself, these are the facts of who you are. It's also crucial to set healthy boundaries rather than shut down completely. When they go silent, don't mirror their behavior. Instead, kindly assert, "I need some space right now," or "I'm not available at the moment." This signals that your time and emotional energy are precious, not infinite resources to be consumed. Simultaneously, invest in self-care. Prioritize restful sleep 7 to 8 hours in a comfortable space, perhaps with a calming book before bed. Nourish your body with balanced meals rich in omega-3 seconds and B vitamins, proven to support mood. Dedicate at least 30 minutes a day to movement, running, yoga, or even a brisk walk in the park. Each drop of sweat is a seed of confidence planted. And engage your passions and community. Join a painting class, volunteer, or participate in a meditation group. Helping others and practicing mindfulness naturally boost your internal sense of worth. Finally, cultivate gratitude each evening. Write down 3 things you're grateful for about yourself. I'm grateful I resisted checking my phone constantly. I'm grateful I asserted my need for space. I'm grateful I found joy in my hobby today. Gratitude turns appreciation inward, further dimming the pull of the external locus. As you persist in these practices, the internal locus will become your reality. You'll discover that love isn't measured by, "I text, you reply," but by mutual respect between 2 self-reliant individuals. Your self-worth will no longer fluctuate with each like or seen. It will grow steadily with every goal you set and achieve. A sense of genuine freedom dawns like sunlight. You no longer need to prove your value to anyone else because you know, to your core, that you are inherently worthy. Remember this truth: I alone control my choices. My value is self-determined, not granted by others. When your internal locus shines brightly, the external locus becomes a distant echo, and you, the steadfast pilot of your life, carry on confidently without invisible chain. In everyone's life, there comes a moment when you realize you've become a leaf caught in a swirling wind, unmoored, directionless, and worst of all, feeling worthless. Once you slip into the prove and disappoint spiral, you discover that trying to earn recognition from a dismissive avoidant doesn't just wear down your heart, it robs you of your self-respect. Now, you need a new map to guide you back to yourself. Here is the self-esteem reclamation strategy, a journey of small yet powerful steps, beginning with resolute, mindful silence. 1. Mindful silence as self-respect. Quiet, you tell yourself, and this quiet isn't passive withdrawal but rather a proclamation. I respect myself enough not to demand apologies or validation from anyone. Each time you choose not to reply immediately or to stop trying, you are nourishing your inner strength and defending your peace. Mindful silence isn't an act of aggression. It's a gentle yet firm gesture, your signal that you've shifted power from their hands into your own. Imagine receiving a curt "okay" in the dead of night. Instead of responding and sacrificing your dignity, you set your phone aside, take a slow breath, and place your hand over your heart. In that moment of silence, you remind yourself, "I am worthy of peace." From that silence spreads the energy of self-respect, and you no longer spin at the whim of a screen. 2. Creating inner closure. If silence is a mirror, journaling becomes your sculpting tool. Lindsay Gibson, in Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, 2019, explains how tracking your feelings on paper allows you to externalize chaotic emotions, helping you see old patterns clearly and achieve independent closure. Each night, before sleep, practice. 1. List 3 main feelings you experienced that day: empty, frustrated, lonely, or whatever arose. 2. Write yourself a letter. I feel exhausted. I want peace. I deserve to be loved without needing to demand it. With each line you write, you open a window into your heart. When you read it back, you see that closure comes from within, not from anyone else. Tiga, cultivating gentle boundaries. Brené Brown reminds us that boundaries aren't rigid walls, but acts of strong self-respect. Rather than using total silence to punish them, learn to say, I need some time. I'm not available to talk right now. These simple statements maintain connection without sacrificing your space. You're not cutting them off, just gently pulling up a respectful curtain. When they go silent, rather than matching that emptiness, you can text back, I'm focusing on my well-being right now. Let's talk when I'm ready. Gentle boundaries let you recover while still respecting the relationship's potential. 4. Prioritizing self-care. To rebuild self-esteem, nourish your body and mind. Sleep. Aim for 7-8 hours nightly. Matthew Walker, 2017, shows that adequate rest enhances emotional processing and resilience. Nutrition. Incorporate omega-3 seconds and B vitamins found in fatty fish, seeds, nuts, and leafy greens to support a positive mood. Exercise. Stephen Porges, 2011, demonstrates that yoga, running, or qigong activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing stress. Even a 15-minute walk can revive your energy. Passions and community. Join a painting class, book club, or volunteer group. Each dash of creativity or act of kindness releases natural dopamine, reaffirming your worth beyond any one relationship. Community connection also validates you as an essential member of something larger. 5. Elevating your self-worth. As you progress, anchor these 2 transformative mantras in your heart. I'm not leaving because I hate you. I'm leaving because I refuse to hate myself ever again. Love is not a tool for control. It's the courage to stay when staying demands growth. Whenever you feel tempted to re-enter the prove and disappoint cycle, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and repeat these phrases. You'll feel a spark of self-respect that reminds you of your power. Envision walking down a golden sunset path. Each step is a decision not to prove yourself. Each breath affirms your intrinsic value. Even after dusk falls, you keep moving not to run from someone else, but to approach the fullest version of yourself, free, dignified, and whole. If you've ever exhausted yourself trying to prove your worth, know that these strategies work together. Mindful silence, journaling for inner closure, gentle boundaries, comprehensive self-care, and daily affirmations. You no longer need anyone's nod of approval to feel worthy because your value lives in your own heart and actions. Share this message with those who need it, and subscribe for more guidance on healthy love and personal growth. Let these 2 declarations guide you whenever you find yourself adrift in a sea of emotion. I'm not leaving because I hate you. I'm leaving because I refuse to hate myself ever again. Love isn't a tool for control. It's the courage to stay when staying demands growth. As the philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you relinquish the need to prove yourself, you not only reclaim your own power, but also create the possibility for a relationship if it is truly worthy to flourish on a foundation of mutual respect and equality. Imagine sitting beside someone who no longer demands, "What will you do for me?" or "How must I prove my worth?" Instead, there is a peaceful silence where each person chooses to stay because they genuinely want to grow together, not because they fear losing one another. In that quiet space, you hear your own voice say, "I am enough," and they hear theirs say, "I can open up, I can change." When you decide not to chase every scene mark or endure every curt "okay," you enact your inner freedom. You send a message to the universe. My value is not determined by anyone else. This is the bravest, most powerful act you can give yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that freedom is not about getting what we want. but about not being constrained by others. In love, it means loving freely without sacrificing your selfhood. If that relationship is right for you, the dismissive avoidant will recognize the light of your self-respect and reflect it back in their actions. Power will no longer lie in who rejects whom, but in both of you walking together on the path of growth. And if they choose to leave, you will not collapse. You have already returned to yourself, anchored in unshakable self-worth. In that moment, you understand that inner freedom doesn't come from someone granting you permission to be loved, but from your willingness to never lose yourself for an unbalanced love. When you shift your perspective, you transform your entire world. Because ultimately, the most beautiful kind of love is not a competition to win each other over, but a journey of two free, growing souls walking side by side. As you step off the treadmill of proving yourself, remember that true freedom lies in honoring your own worth. No external seen or like can amplify the value you already hold. You have reclaimed the power to choose self-respect over self-sacrifice, and in doing so, you open the door to relationships that thrive on equality, honesty, and mutual growth. Should your dismissive avoidant partner recognize and meet you there, wonderful. If not, you will stand unshaken, because your worth has never depended on another's approval. Carry these truths with you. I'm not leaving because I hate you. I'm leaving because I refuse to hate myself ever again. Love isn't a tool for control. It's the courage to stay when staying demands growth. Let them guide you as you build a life rooted in inner validation through mindful silence, honest journaling, gentle boundaries, and wholehearted self-care. When you live by these principles, you no longer need to chase. You simply attract the respect and connection you deserve. This is your invitation to step into a new chapter, one where your self-worth shines independently of anyone else's actions, and where any love you receive becomes an enriching echo of the love you first gave yourself.